Busy day here at the 49ers facility. They won't practice until a bit later, so be sure to check out my next video update for that. But right now, after stepping out of the locker room, I can tell you that Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall, and Juwan Jennings will not be taking part in that session. However, those players have not been ruled out for Thursday's game against the Rams.
Yeah, 100%. If I can play this game, I'm going to play. And obviously, I want to get right and get healthy and everything. But we need to win this game against the Rams, so that's how I'm looking at it.
So you heard it there from Brock Purdy. This is just a matter of recovery. Can he get enough of it in by Thursday to be able to deliver for the 49ers? If not, Mac Jones is scheduled to practice in full for San Francisco. Speaking of that, Mac Jones and his Alabama Crimson Tide victors over Georgia this past weekend. Brian Robinson Jr. was a teammate of Mac's at Alabama, but with the 24-21 Alabama victory, Michael Williams, who played for Georgia, had to wear an Alabama sweater in the locker room today, and Mac had a laugh about it as he passed by Michael Williams. Also, the basketball hoop has been replaced in the locker room. The engineering guys, shout out to the Levi Stadium engineering guys, they were finishing up the new basketball hoop in the locker room, replacing a broken old one, right as locker room opened today. And by the end of it, the hoop was up there and a ton of guys were shooting on the hoop. They were excited that it was back. Jake Brendel, I would say, inaugurated the hoop well. He had a nice, clean shot from the outside, several nice shots from the outside. Dominic Pooney, solid also for the 49ers. I won't say who airballed a couple today out of respect for that player, but I will highlight the guys who look strong on the basketball hoop. In the locker room, we heard from Fred Warner, who is the top graded player in the NFL. Number 2 is Puka Nacua of the Rams, and also a BYU alumnus, just like Fred Warner. It's going to be a big-time matchup against the wide receiver. Here's what the Terminator had to say about Nacua.
So happy for him. Hopefully, this is his worst outing of the year and they can continue his success later on. But he just does all the little things that most receivers don't, like just as small as getting involved in the run game, the way that he run blocks. The run after catch, when he has great hands to be able to transition when he does catch the ball and then running through contact. The energy that he plays with, I know is inspirational to his teammates. And so, yeah, man, he's done a phenomenal job. It's only in a short amount of time.
And then this is a trip down to SoFi Stadium where Christian McCaffrey absolutely lit the place up back in 2022, shortly after he was traded from the Panthers to the 49ers. Remember that McCaffrey was in the lineup for a game against the Chiefs just a few hours after the trade went down. But then after a full week of work, he threw for a touchdown, trick play to Brandon Ayuk. He ran for a touchdown and he caught a touchdown in the back corner from Jimmy Garoppolo, made NFL history. I asked Christian about his memories of preparation entering that magical win against the Rams.
First full game with this team, or first game where you had a full week of prep, was down at SoFi, and you had all those touchdowns in different fashions. How busy was that week of preparation, and looking back on it in retrospect?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was definitely a blur of a week. It was good to get a full week instead of just 2 days when I first got here for the Chiefs game. So it was great to get a full week, and a lot of credit to Bobby T and a lot of the coaches who helped me get there, because it's a lot to install and a lot to learn in a week. But I remember it was a great feeling, great winning locker room after that game, and we had a bye after that too, so I could kind of get my bearings.
And speaking of that Christian McCaffrey debut with the 49ers, it just so happened that he joined George Kittle's podcast, Kittle Things. George and Claire host a podcast. It is a relatively new one. And Christian talked about when he was traded to the 49ers just a few days before that trip to SoFi against the Rams. Great memories back in 2022. Anyway, to help get George's podcast out there, they're doing a good job with it. Here's the clip of Christian recently talking about the big moment where he switched teams in 2022.
I don't think I've ever asked you, what were you doing when you got told that you were getting traded?
I was in my bed.
Because it was kind of late.
It was 11:15 p.m. at night.
On a Tuesday?
On a Thursday.
Was that?
So I got traded Thursday night at like 11:15. My agent called me 11:15 p.m. And I thought I was getting traded to the Rams. And he was like, "Hey, look, dude, this is going to happen." And the whole week, I was hearing, hey, dude, we're not doing it. It's not going to happen, blah, blah. So I, practice Wednesday, practice Thursday.
Yeah.
He called me and he's like, you're going to the Niners. And before John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan could call me, George calls me. Dude, let's go.
Woo!
How'd you even get the info?
It got like leaked
no
on
idea,
it got leaked on Twitter.
I found out if my agent hadn't called or I didn't have my phone, I would have found out. And the next thing I know, while I'm talking to George on the Thursday night game, it's like breaking news. It's Troy Aikman's voice, like breaking news, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what's going on right now?
It was
That's crazy.
And
I
then
was playing.
Yeah.
I think Claire wasn't there because I only play video games like 1 or 2 days a week. And so I was playing on a Thursday night. That means Claire wasn't at home.
I was at the Women of the Niners event with your dad and your sister.
That's what you
they
were
were
doing.
putting it on.
And I was playing Call of Duty, and then one of my buddies just goes, dude, you guys just got Christian McCaffrey. And I was like, oh, that's fun. Kept playing. And he was like, no, did you hear me? You got Christian. I was like, holy instantly headset off, called him, could not have called you any faster.
And of course, we got to talk some 49ers Rams. Did it from Casper up in San Francisco a little bit earlier today. All right, welcome in from Casper. Take a look at this. Cool part of San Francisco. They've got these trolley cars from different cities. That one says Boston Elevated Railway. So they got an old one from Boston to roll down Market Street. There's another one over there. We're about to turn right into the Bose Triangle and talk more about the 49ers. This game against the Rams, I don't know who needs to hear this, but the 49ers are probably going to lose on Thursday. And that's okay. The world won't end if they lose. I know that some of you probably aren't going to enjoy hearing this, but as you know, I do keep it real. And the 49ers just don't have the arsenal that the Rams have available right now. The firepower on San Francisco's end is much more limited. And when that's the case, you have to be realistic and you have to look at the big picture and say, we've been talking about the 49ers potentially starting this season 3-3 with returning firepower in the middle of October. And if that ends up being the case, it's all right. They'll be in decent position to go on a run. Right now, the 49ers are not a football team that is equipped to do crazy stuff like win games by multiple possessions. This is not the 2023 49ers. The run game is very limited without George Kittle. 49ers, since the start of 2024, have averaged only 3.3 yards per carry when George Kittle is not on the field, nearly 5 yards per carry when he's on the field. So the run game is obviously limited for San Francisco. The defense doesn't have Nick Bosa, and they're just down receiving weapons. You may not see Ricky Pearsall in this game. Juwan Jennings, even if you see him, he's going to be hurting for San Francisco. Obviously, Brandon Ayuk is not back for the 49ers yet. It's just one of those situations where this is not the football team that the 49ers hope to field in later October and in November. So it's a really, really good thing for San Francisco that they stole those early wins. This is the Bose Triangle. There's a little cafe on the corner here, and this is the best dog park in San Francisco. Who let the dogs out? They're all out there. Just a few of them. On weekends, it's crazy, but just beautiful. You could see how colorful the city is right now. We're going to go back. Oh, look, this guy's carrying some trees around. There's a lot going on today in San Francisco. If you guys want to catch me working some mornings, maybe I shouldn't give away the location, but I think I already blew it here. This place, Cafe Reve, awesome. Get the acai bowl, get a nice black coffee. You have to drink coffee black and go from there. Look at the sky in San Francisco. Just great. Just great. We're working our way up to the city, but the 49ers stole games in Seattle and in Arizona, and that opened up some margin for error for San Francisco. It means that they're okay if they lose to LA, even if they lose to Tampa Bay, as long as they start returning firepower by mid-October. Yes, the schedule is a little bit softer after week 6. That's something that we discussed at the start of this season. So that's why I said in my prediction, 11-6, I said 3-3 start for the 49ers. Now, if they can steal one of the next two, I think they'll be in downright excellent position. 4-2, returning firepower, theoretically. Entering the softer part of the schedule, theoretically. That would be awesome. But this league, it's just the margins are so tight in this league, even if you're good. The 2023 49ers, I think, spoiled some people. The 2022 team down the stretch might have spoiled some people, winning all those games by multiple scores. It's just not San Francisco's reality at this moment. The 49ers need to, and their fans, like, I think the 49ers realize this, but the fans need to get a grip on reality and the thinness of these margins and the fact that it is going to be tough sledding on Thursday. And it's all part of a larger push as the 49ers try to improve over the course of this season. You know, the game plan, I think, on Thursday against the Rams, it's going to be really pared down. I think what you're going to really see from Kyle Shanahan, regardless of who plays quarterback, if it's Brock Purdy or Mac Jones, a take the profit game plan. You look at Purdy's second interception on Sunday. It came on first down. Yes, it was tipped at the line of scrimmage, but it seemed like even if that wasn't tipped, it was going to have to fit into the tightest of windows on a first down. So extremely high degree of difficulty for that throw. And when you factor in the risk reward, I just don't think that it was there. And I think that it's a reminder that there should be a re-emphasis from Kyle Shanahan to his quarterbacks, especially to Brock Purdy, since this is something that he's wanted to rein back a little bit, a re-emphasis on just taking the profit. Take the check down when it's there. Now, that's going to require, I think, better left guard play. There's been a little too much pressure coming in over Connor Colby, 10 pressures in the past 2 games. So you want to make sure that pocket's clean, especially on the inside where that pressure comes really quickly. But the focus on just taking what's there is so important in a game that you don't want to turn into a track meet. The 49ers are unlikely to win on Thursday, but if there is a path to victory, it is to shorten the game. And the 49ers have moved the ball nearly at will over the course of this season so far. They had nearly 400 yards of total offense against the Rams. Now they need to start hogging the ball at will. They need to eliminate the turnovers. They need to take what's there, minimize the unnecessarily risky plays. And it might be boring. It might lead to less yards per play, but that's what San Francisco needs. Here, about to go by a tourist attraction, Alamo Square. These are the painted ladies. These are the full house houses. Now, we're seeing them from really up close, and the trees are on the way. But you know how they're having that picnic at the start of Full House? Well, they're on the square right behind that row of houses. So cool little spot that you can see in San Francisco. I've done a show before with a better view of those houses, but just thought I'd show you as we drove by. We're on our way to the water, as usual. We head up to the Dolphin Club in the Waymo. Got to get a swim in today, and then I have to head down to the 49ers facility. But just taking what's there, it can be so big for the 49ers in this game because they haven't gotten those explosive runs. They don't have a run of over 20 yards yet over the first for the first 4 games of the season, the first month of the year. It's hard to expect explosives to come in droves before George Kittle returns because he's so important in that run game. But if you pare things down, then maybe at least you can churn the 3 to 4 yards per carry. The success rate can be higher, so you're not getting stonewalled and facing 2nd and 10s and 3rd and 9s all too often. You want to keep it in 2nd and 6, 3rd and 3. Maybe you can, if you're not going to be explosive running the ball without George Kittle, maybe you can at least be a little bit more consistent if things are a little bit more reined in. Pass game, maybe you can limit some of the giveaways. And, they're going to have to catch the football for this to work. But bottom line is Bosa-less defense against a high-powered Rams offense. I mean, Puka Nacua is playing out of his mind right now. Has 44 catches through 4 games. Devontae Adams is on this offense. Matthew Stafford is playing well for the Rams. You want to keep them on the sideline for as long as possible. You want to play some ball control if you're the 49ers. And the only way that you can control the ball right now is if you rein it in. You do not have the personnel right now to be running something extremely aggressive, shot downfield, while also expecting to control the football. That kind of game can get away from you really quickly in the state that the 49ers are in right now. Now, the Rams, I think the strength of this defense is in the front. They've spent the last few drafts really building up the front. By the way, the Millionaire's Bacon right here at Sweet Maple, highly, highly recommend it. We're rolling into Lower Pack Heights now, where there are some good food offerings in this part of town in San Francisco. You could also see St. Dominic's Church here right before we turn. Look at that. Beautiful cathedral-style church. Look, now we're on Bush Street heading in toward the central part of the city. But, up front, Byron Young has really turned into a nice edge piece for the Rams. Of course, they've got Braden Fisk out of Florida State. I don't think that the Rams have played good in the stack, played well. I should correct myself, played well in the stack linebacker position ever since Sean McVay took over. That's usually been a spot where the 49ers have been able to really make some hay against the Rams. But it's the front. It's the front for the Rams that should give the 49ers a lot of trouble. And, let's clear up some misconceptions, too, along the lines of the front and how the 49ers are going to combat it. San Francisco's offensive line has really struggled, and I mentioned this a few minutes ago, but it's about struggle at one particular position for the 49ers. I don't know exactly what they're going to do at that position, but Connor Colby at left guard has carried the weight of the problems for the 49ers ever since he entered as a starter a couple games ago. Trent Williams is essentially having to play both left tackle and left guard, which is why you see Trent Williams having given up 4 pressures against Jacksonville, despite being the 49ers' highest graded player on the offensive side of the ball. I think for the 49ers to be adept, competent offensively, they need to eliminate glaring weaknesses on the offensive line. So either Colby has to take serious strides forward, as can be very possible given the fact that he's still a raw rookie, so the developmental potential could be really high there, or that they return Ben Barch in a couple games, or they've got Matt Hennessy has been a really, really good run blocker before for Atlanta in the season that he started at left guard. Nick Zakelj started a few games for the 49ers late last season at guard, and he actually pass protected well, but the run blocking wasn't quite as good. You just have to make sure that left guard is not a gaping deficiency, however you do it for the 49ers. Then you start to think about, that sets a floor for what you're doing, run game wise, pass game wise. Then you could start thinking about the ceiling. And I think the ceiling has to involve George Kittle. People ask me, how's Luke Farrell been so far? I don't think he's been as good at Charlie Werner, the run blocking back in 2023, but he's also been playing the majority of the time without George Kittle. And that puts everybody out of position, right? That slides everybody to a different spot, because George is such a fundamentally important fixture of how the 49ers do everything in this adaptable offense. So it's one of those things where it's so hard to evaluate the 49ers right now because of, I want to try this place, by the way, right here. It's right on the corner. It's called Pistachio Kitchen. It looks really good, and the reviews are really nice. It's right there with the blue trash can out in front on Franklin Street. I always zoom by it in the Waymo, but can never get it. But the 49ers right now, it's really difficult to evaluate individual personnel because I don't think that they're in the positions that the 49ers expect that they're going to be in once this team hits more of its idealized state, right? And that's just, it's just the reality. And I get fans are frustrated. I understand that the 49ers seem snake bit by some of these injuries. All they can really do is keep on grinding and hope that they return to fuller firepower and fight as much as possible over the course of the next couple games. They're going to have, according to Vivid Seats, there's a projection that the 49ers are going to have 61% of the crowd in LA. LA is the first true road takeover stadium for San Francisco. And with so many 49ers fans down in Southern California, that can continue in this game. I would argue that the loudest I've ever heard a 49ers crowd was in LA back in the week 17 or week 18 game, whatever the last week of the season is, week 18 of the 2021 regular season, when Ambry Thomas had the interception that sent the 49ers to the playoffs. And the reason I think that was the loudest crowd I'd ever heard, it was either between that or Estadio Azteca, is because SoFi's inside and there's an overhang and it reverberates crowd noise. So like Levi's doesn't do a very good job of holding crowd noise in, but SoFi does, and the 49ers have a massive majority of fans there. So whenever a big play happens or a big moment happens for the 49ers, it gets really loud. And I really do think that this team could use as much of a boost as possible, because I'll just go back to what I said at the start. I don't think it's likely that they win this game. Now, it's possible that they keep this close, they shorten the game, they hog the ball, and then a couple lucky bounces go the 49ers' way. You set yourself up to be the true beneficiary of some luck later in the game. I'm sure that 49ers fans right now are asking me, what's a lucky bounce? What's that exists? But I get it. The 49ers have to hope that the luck and the fortune does turn into their favor in that regard. Working our way up Russian Hill. Look at those clouds. I mean, it finally is starting to feel a little bit like fall, because we actually have some precipitation in the sky. There's a difference between fog in San Francisco and clouds that may actually carry the chance of some rain. I think they call those cumulus clouds, right? The ones above us. But they're just beautiful here in 4K as we talk about the 49ers and the Rams. Let's check the weather in LA, even though we're not going to be dealing with it. Although SoFi is not fully enclosed, so if there's lightning, not saying there will be, but there could be a lightning delay in LA. That actually has happened at SoFi Stadium because it is technically open air. I don't have LA on my weather thing on here on my iPhone. I've got Austin, Texas, but I don't have LA on there, so I'll look later. I'm sure it will be nice down in LA. I know that we've got some of these rain clouds in San Francisco, but geez, I should just keep the camera pointed this way. The sky today, absolutely sensational. The Rams, remember the 2024 Week 3 game? I'm sure a lot of you would like to forget that, when the 49ers lost to the Rams in LA. San Francisco had a major roster advantage in that game. LA had a beaten up front. The defense wasn't playing well yet for the Rams. They were the number 29 defense over the first 3 months of last year before they truly emerged into a solid unit. They're top 5 now. The 49ers obviously should have won that game, and they didn't. They blew it. It was a bad loss. It was an omen of things to come in that 2024 season. But it serves an important point, and that is the 49ers, even as underdogs in this game, even despite the fact that I think that roster-wise they're overmatched by the Rams in this game, in the division, you can steal wins like this. I mean, the 49ers have already done it against Arizona and against Seattle. They were not 100% or close to it for either of those two games, and they found a way to get the job done. So it might not be likely, but the 49ers have already beaten some of the odds before, and if they could steal a win, they can be 4-2, maybe even 5-1 over the first 6. But I'm just saying, 3-3 is most likely, and the 49ers would still be equipped. They still project to be in decent position, even if that ends up being the record through those first 3 games, or first 6 games. I didn't know we were in London. Look, it's a double-decker bus. Crazy. And there in the distance, you've got Alcatraz. You guys see it? Not swimming all the way out there today, although our Fitness SF commercial series continues from my Alcatraz swim. Episode 2 now out. Episode 3 coming soon. All good stuff. That was actually filmed a few months ago, but we're just now getting it out. And look at this. We're passing. This is a good spot to finish. The Buena Vista Cafe, home of the Irish coffee. Crazy story with that Irish coffee. You know, I've shared this one once before. Might as well share it once again, as we can close out on some cable cars if we want to give this a truly San Francisco treat at the finish. But I was once flying from Montreal to Prague, and it was on a sketchy discount airline called Air Transat, and apparently we were leaking fuel over the Atlantic Ocean. We had to make an emergency landing at the first airport, like the first land once we got to Europe, which was Shannon, Ireland. So we landed in Shannon, Ireland to let us know that we were leaking fuel. I got stuck in Shannon, Ireland for 24 hours. I rented a car. I drove on the wrong side of the road to hit up the cliffs of Moher. Awesome, by the way, those cliffs in Ireland. Well, the Shannon Airport is where Stanton Delaplane, the San Francisco Chronicle travel writer, actually met the bartender who made him an Irish coffee. And then he came back to the U.S. and the place that I just showed you, the Buena Vista Cafe, he introduced Irish coffee in the U.S. and he actually brought the bartender over from the Shannon Airport, which I would emergency land in a few decades later. He brought the bartender over to open the Buena Vista. So much cool history here in San Francisco. Look, I swim with these guys. They're huge. You could even see his skeleton there. This is the South End Rowing Club. That is the Dolphin Club. And in just a second, we're going to be at the Dolphin Club. We could take a look at the Golden Gate Bridge. All right, everybody take care. 49ers Rams coming up.